I've talked to more people this year, Mike, than I think I have in any past year that lost a job and weren't expecting it. And so that's something that, if you even have an inkling that the job that you're currently in isn't going to be there in 3, 6, or 12 months, you're not going to go out and buy a house and sign up for $4,500 a month.
Alrighty, folks, it is bed day. Actually, we get our answer in 52 minutes. So we're recording this 52 minutes before Jerome Powell releases his verdict, in about an hour and a half before he steps to the microphone and takes Q&A. Also, this morning, we got the fact that mortgage purchase demand is up a surprising 11% week on week. Refi demand also up 11% week on week. We also have more and more reports about how dead the spring selling season is, and inventory is exploding higher. I thought we'd have this conversation with Matt, the mortgage guy, somebody who's been in the business a long time, and just say, what the heck is going on? What do you expect today? Where does the spring selling season go? Man, lots of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Fed today, which we all know there's not going to be a cut, is pretty inconsequential for the conversations I'm having or going to have, in my opinion, which vast majority of my daily conversations are real estate agents who are working with buyers or homeowners looking to refinance. And when I say buyers, some of them are buying a primary, some are buying investment properties. For the most part, from what I see, I don't like to fudge things, and I don't like to, talk about things from rose-colored glasses just because it sounds better. Admitting that, hey, my business is slower than I'd like it or I'd expect is not fun, but it's the honest truth. And then, yesterday, the first Tuesday of every month, is the Sacramento Association of Realtors has their main meeting. There's a couple hundred real estate agents and affiliates. And the conversations I'm having when I get the truth is, because I ask people, what are you up to? You got buyers, that are active and looking, and most of them are really, really slow. And, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I think for a lot of agents in a lot of markets, I would imagine things are like this. And the good news that I will tell myself and I'll speak into existence is buyers aren't holding back or pressing pause forever. They, for one reason or another, are waiting. Maybe it's the right house hasn't come along. Maybe it's they really want to feel secure about current job situation. Maybe they're worried about, the economy. I've talked to more people this year, Mike, than I think I have in any past year that lost a job and weren't expecting it. And so that's something that, if you even have an inkling that the job that you're currently in isn't going to be there in 3, 6, or 12 months, you're not going to go out and buy a house and sign up for $4,500 a month. You're just not going to. So that's the honest truth, brother.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things in that we'll peel back. First off, the Fed rate decision's a big nothing burger. The only thing that will be interesting is when Powell steps to the microphone, and does he continue his "we are data dependent" and no cuts coming, basically, or does he get a little softer, and does he talk about just how bad the soft data is? Because again, the hard data, even if you go back to last Friday's, good to really good. Most people would argue the Fed is spending too much time looking in the rearview mirror and not looking out the windshield. And if you do that for too long, you're bound to run into something. So we'll see if Powell softens that. I think that is the only question in today's press conference is, does he soften his stance? Does he acknowledge that the soft data, the windshield in this analogy, is getting deep, dark, scary, and frankly deteriorating quickly. That's the only thing that I think this Q&A session's about. Then we need to talk about the spring selling season and buyers. I've studied consumer behavior for 30 plus years now. My experience, my history says that buyers could essentially sit on their wallets for about 6 months. So if we assume that this started in April, we're into May, that gets us till like September. So the big question for the housing market, in my opinion, if consumers continue to do what they've done historically, is do we have a strong winter, or is just the winter sentiment so strong that we basically skip this spring selling season and we go to 2026? I don't know the answer to that. I think that's an open debate, and it will be interesting. Where we're sitting today with buyers, in my opinion, is, and I've been doing this for almost 30 years. I believe right now we have the most uncertain economy ever, at least in my adult life. And that is not a good environment to buy a home. It's not a good environment to buy a car. It's not a good environment to take a big old vacation. It's an environment where you cancel discretionary trips. You stockpile cash. Like you talked about, there are more and more layoffs, more and more surprise layoffs, and that will become the rumor mill, and other people who have jobs will get concerned. And this is not going to be a good year. And, thankfully I called 2025 the worst year for pending home sales. It's feeling more and more right as days go by. But I will remind you that we're about a third over, and that 2026 will be better. Because again, what will happen in 2026? We will have certainty. We will likely have lower rates. We will likely have resolutions to these tariffs. And then the tax cuts, the deregulation, the pro-growth side of, Trump 2.0 kicks in. And, I think any delay in demand becomes future demand, right? This is not like, somebody buying a hamburger at McDonald's, not doing it, right? That demand never comes back. These people who want a home likely want a home, and they will do that at some point.
I agree. Yeah. And for what it's worth, people listening probably have similar questions to the questions I get on a daily basis. And one of the big ones I'm getting lately, and I like it because people know I'm going to answer it honestly. They're hemming and hawing, and I don't know, because of this, that, or the other, is now a good time to buy? And that's a question that I get quite a bit. And I think about the last time I answered that. And again, like everything I talk about in real estate and mortgage, it's so client specific. Your specific scenario, your life, your goals, how everything else is lining up is individual to you. So it's not going to be the same answer for one person that it is for another. But I'd love to get your take, Mike, on when people ask me,
I get it asked all the time. I'll answer it first so you don't lead the witness. So the first thing that happens when somebody asks me on a YouTube comment or Instagram post is, and I answer this kind of tongue in cheek, but I mean every word of it. If you're asking a stranger on the internet if you should buy a home, the answer is you shouldn't buy a home. You're not ready. But let me step back and answer it how I would tell a friend today. I would tell most people, that today is a terrible time to buy a home and you shouldn't. Why do I say that? Because most of you are lazy and you won't do the work. Most of you won't write 20 offers and follow up 17 times. Most of you won't do the work to find the motivated seller and get the great deal. I don't care if you're an investor or a homeowner. This is the time we are in a buyer's market in most of the country that you should be getting a deal of a lifetime. And that means finding the motivated seller, getting the debt structure, getting the interest rate, getting the best deal possible. because we have more and more motivated sellers. Inventory is up 30% across the country. It's up 80% in Las Vegas. We've got interest rates down from a year ago. We have so much uncertainty. We have sellers just stacking and stacking and stacking. So again, I think most people are just lazy, and thus it's a terrible time. There's a small percentage of folks, somewhere between 5 and 12%, that this will be the best time ever to buy a home because they're willing to do the work. They're willing to do the hard work. They're willing to be boring and consistent and follow up. And if that's you, congratulations. You're going to get the deal of a lifetime. Most of your peers are just lazy and won't do it. So good luck, go hunting and have some fun.
Yeah, I've got a couple things to say. One, I won't name them personally because I don't know if they want to be named, but ORaaT listener who I connected with, have them pre-approved in Florida. They're buying an investment property in Florida. Like I normally do, and you've heard this from me, Mike, go ahead and connect me to the list side. I'll let them know we've got a full file. We can close it quickly and whatnot. The funny answer I got from this investor was, don't sweat it, Matt. My offers are so ridiculous. I don't expect this one to get accepted. I'll loop you in when we're getting close. But for now, it's
save your time.
It's disrespectful and it's
I love it.
Got a very, very small chance. So that investor for sure. I'd love to get your take too. I've got buyers who, the questions are pretty specific, and it's sometime in the next 24 months. I need to go from wherever I'm at to someone who's going to buy in the next 24 months. When I think about it and I want to answer it genuinely and with an honest answer, they're thinking about price and okay, that's fine. Whether you buy today or in 12 months or 24, it's not going to, you're not in a have to buy situation. My best guess for the next 12 to 24 months for most markets that I'm operating in is the prices are probably going to, if I had to pin it, same 5% higher, 5% lower, 10% higher, it's probably the same price. And so I'm telling buyers this where, oh, you've got this really cool situation where they're going to let you rent for another year or two this home at a ridiculously low price. I'm not going to step out and say, man, you got to buy now because it might be 10% more expensive next year because rates go down to 5.99, even though it's possible. So I guess what's your take on
my answer?
Yeah.
So again, my call for prices has been the same for 3 years, and thus far I've been basically right. They're going to be flat for basically the rest of the decade because we got all the appreciation in the first 2 or 3 years. So, and again, that's national talk. It's not regional. Every market is different. Learn your market. But back to your question at hand, my statement doesn't change. If you're a homeowner that has the flexibility to buy, today or sometime in the next 24 months, let me ask you this question. Do you want more or less competition? The answer is hopefully pretty easy. You want less competition. So the first thing I would ask you is, do you expect more or less competition in the next 24 months? I don't know. You have to answer that for yourself. What about supply? Do you expect more supply or less supply in the next 24 months? Well, I think the supply has been very consistent. It's only going one direction in most of the country. And then motivated sellers, right? We are starting to see motivated sellers. We're starting to see seller financing right in the description. It is clear that some people are getting increasingly motivated. So I would tell a home buyer in this situation, today to the next 24 months is learn your market in your buy box. Where do you want to live? Where are you on the demand, supply, motivated seller side? And I still tell, even if you thought the market would go down 5%, I would still rather buy when there's no competition. Why? Because I don't pay freaking list price. People, are you not paying attention? If you think prices are going down 5%, my offers are going to be 15, 20, 22% below asking. I'm going to build that in so it ain't going to matter. So again, it is about discipline, focus, willingness to get a bunch of no's so that you eventually get a yes.
Yep, I agree. There's going to be opportunity for those deal hunters and those willing to write disrespectful offers, negotiate, and for the buyers out there, some of them do it on their own. If you connect with a real estate agent who you're going to work with, make sure they're of that same mindset too, because I know plenty of agents that don't really understand negotiations. They don't understand anything about real estate investing, to be quite frank. They just know, I find house that buyer like, I write contracts, sell side accepts, and off we go. So yeah, interesting season in real estate and opportunity ahead. Thanks as always for your take, Mike. I really appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Where can people find you?
Go to greatmortgagebroker.com. We're licensed in 48 states. Like we both mentioned, all markets are different. So you've got to figure out what's going on in your market. Some markets, tons of inventory, tons of opportunity. You're going to have a lot of leverage as a buyer. Other markets, maybe less so, but whatever the case, you need to, one, get yourself pre-approved and know your numbers. Two, connect with an agent who knows that market well and can negotiate on your behalf. So start with us at greatmortgagebroker.com. We're happy to help.
Thank you, buddy. Take care. Have a good week.
Thanks, Mike. All right. You too, my man.